Hello, I hope you are doing fine. I have had a couple of days where I was a bit sick, but I'm good and slowly getting back at work. Instead of writing to you in this newsletter, I thought I would record a video. I wanted to have a more personal conversations. I delayed writing this newsletter because I have been learning a lot and I have been working a lot. And I didn't know how to package everything that I have learned. I still don't know, but I think this is a great start just to have a conversation. I came to realize one important power that I am developing. And I want to call you to develop this power as well. Let me tell you a story first. I have a tendency to postpone things. Maybe you also have this. It's called procrastination. That had been a habit since I think I was little, and I kept on practicing this habit, even though it had tough consequences for me. The most recent one happened 1 month ago, I believe, that I was joining a big company of coaches for providing coaching services to other companies. And because I delayed fulfilling the requirements, there were some educational requirements, I finished them very late, and the time I finished, Corona hit and they stopped hiring coaches. And I used to take this with quite disappointment back then, in the days when my procrastination would result in a disaster, and then I would call myself stupid, you did it again, you just can't do anything different, it's always the same. This time, I took it as a message, kind of a learning for me. I said, life is telling you to act differently next time. You see, this was a message. This kinder voice to myself had helped me a lot, and I could have my attention directed to this part of my life. I still procrastinate, don't get me wrong. It's not something simple to resolve yourself in, but this noticing, finding the gift in it and having a kind voice to yourself is the beginning of the change that you will go through anything in your life. So recently I had a huge task waiting at my desk. It is a training preparation that I do. And in the last months, I think since a year, I have left the training preparation till the last day. This time, I did differently. I took 3-4 days for preparation. And it still felt overwhelming. It still felt a lot. But what I did was I gave all my focus to it. And I realized while I was starting, there was this little bit of tension coming to me. This, oh, I can't do this, is too much, I can't deal with it, let's just postpone it. There was this voice coming. I noticed it. I took a breath. I paused. I kept on working. And I stayed focused quite some time. Then this voice popped up again. Let's give a break. Come on, let's watch a video. I said, okay, let's take a break. And then I came back. There was again this resistance. It's too much work. It's not finishing. But I sit down, worked. Then I gave a break. This voice kept on coming inside of me that wanted to avoid it, that feared the amount of work. And I kept on working at it. I see it as one of my personal victories. that I noticed this power. First, the voice inside of me that wants to stop me from going forward because it's fearful, because it wants to have things lighter. It doesn't trust in its own capability. And the thing is, it comes from the past. This voice comes from my past experiences. I had developed this voice because it helped me somehow to deal with the reality, with my capacity back then. But right now, I also know that I have a different capacity and I can do differently. And I don't expect things to be easy. I know things are difficult, but I have practiced enough to do difficult things too. I was going through a training called PQ. This means positive intelligence. I have been going through these trainings for the 7 weeks right now. And at the same time, last weekend, I was preparing a training on transactional analysis. And these two things touch each other so well, they complete each other. Let me tell you first what transactional analysis says. Transactional analysis says that we, during our childhood, we form certain attitudes towards ourselves and towards others. And these attitudes are formed because of the things that happened to us, how we perceived them at the moment, and in our capability, how we dealt with them. And this happens from baby to age 4. And during this time, through our experiences, we decide nearly all of us decide that we are not okay. So we are not capable to deal with the world by ourselves. We are not safe. We are not powerful. We are not good enough. This is about ourselves. We decide we are not good. I'm not okay. And also about outside world, we give a decision if they are okay or they are not okay. They are okay meaning the others are good, the others are safe, the others know it, they can do things. Not okay meaning the others cannot be trusted, they cannot decide for themselves. So we end up in this I'm okay, I'm not okay, you are okay, or I'm not okay, you are not okay positions. Well, the most important part is how we decide that we are not okay. And because we decide we are not okay, we find ways to deal with situations that will make us feel a bit okay. When we are children, when we are little toddlers or infants, what we do is either we cry so that we get our parents to take care of us, so we feel a bit okay, or we make rebellious acts, or we do mischiefs, or we become the naughty boy or girl, we are rebellious, and then we also get our attention. Even though usually negative, it can be shouting, beating, but we get a certain attention and feel okay, just feel touched by another human being. And these attitudes that we get to a point of temporary okayness create our attitudes in life as well. So probably in my case of avoidance, what I wanted to have is to get away from something that I felt unpleasant. Maybe I was feeling the other person was not okay, and I was trying to put myself out just to feel a bit okay. Or I was feeling not okay and just postponing this feeling, and just in this time I postponed, I feel a bit okay. So this attitude kept on happening. Then I have another attitude, victimhood, where I feel I can't do this, things happen to me, why everything bad happens to me? And this also comes from childhood. So these attitudes actually are not formed with my current reality about myself. They come from my past. So the transactional analysis says we have 3 parts of ourselves. One part is the child, where I have all the childhood experiences that I made about myself and the behaviors I developed, like crying, sulking, withdrawal, fighting. These are the childhood behaviors that I developed with my little mind that wasn't well developed and able to assess the situation and create different alternatives. And I also have in my child's ego the pure emotions that a child has, is born with. It's like happiness, joy, creativity, curiosity, experimentation. So these two things I have inside of me, and I keep it in my psyche. Then I have another thing called parent. This parent ego is also a storage, but it's not the storage of my experiences. It's the storage of experience. Sorry, it's the storage of what I accumulated without processing it on my own. So it can be behaviors I imitate from my parents. Maybe as a child, I was imitating my father smoking a cigarette. It might be my mother doing this to another child. So some behaviors I adopt, but also beliefs and statements I adopt from my parents or authority figures. And these become basis for my judgments, so judgmental attitudes towards others, but also how I speak to myself. Usually I speak to myself how my parents spoke to me. So this is what the transaction analysis says. It says we carry our past experiences as a child ego and also our natural child in us, and we carry our parents' messages and behaviors as the parent ego in us. But we are not bound with the history. We have something about the moment in the now, and this is called an adult. We all have an adult state which can just be in the moment, assess all the information, decide on a course of action, and it's adaptable, and it learns, and it can make different decisions. And it's where there are no feelings, but computation, possibilities, action, statements that are normative, that are not subjective, or they direct to a certain data, or it's where I think about things. And this this adult state also accesses the child and the parent data, brings it, as I said, this is the state which assesses data. It brings together and decides if these information are valid, and I can use this information moving forward. But the thing is, this adult, because it's something that develops as we age, and it's something that adapts, it needs to learn and practice. The other two comes from way forward, and lots of behaviors, the attitudes, we just do automatically because we had learned and practiced it till our year 4. And in an unassessed life, or a life where we don't really take time to assess our behaviors, decide on our values, what kind of life we want to have, what is our ethics, we can be automatic, reactive to things that are happening to us. This adult state needs to practice, needs to take time to think, assess, learn, and it gets stronger. Because of this parent and child, they have the neuron pathways that are so strong with the past practice. It's easier and faster to act from these states, whereas the adult needs to develop these new neural patterns. And it needs to have time to pause, think, and then act. And the more we practice this, the stronger we get in our adult state. So this was the transaction analysis. I told you there is, what I have been studying is PQ, and PQ is positive intelligence. Suggests that it doesn't talk about parent-child. It says we all have saboteurs. And saboteurs are the reasons why we experience negative feelings. And anytime you have a negative feeling longer than 1 second, this means your saboteurs have hijacked you. So it first sets the baseline as saying any negative feeling that stays longer with you is wrong. And the second thing it says is that this negative feeling comes from your saboteur. So it separates you as individual from that thing that causes you to suffer. It starts with this baseline. So what it says is that saboteurs are, going back similar to transaction analysis, saboteurs are the attitudes, so things that we developed in our psyche to help us survive difficult situations. Situations where we felt we weren't safe, so we developed certain reactions to keep us safe. But it's not necessarily the safe place is a good place for us. It can be safe, but it can be where we feel a known, a familiar suffering. So in this system, there are saboteurs like the main one is the judge, where it judges yourself. It is like this parent, your inner voice, not liking any of your behaviors, setting standards and always undermining you, is never happy, this judge. This is to yourself, but also you judge others. You don't always find fault in other people's behaviors. You also judge situations. The situations are never good for you. So it creates lots of negative emotions, and it's the main saboteur, the judge. Then everybody has different accomplice saboteurs. So it says, for example, I told you I have a victim saboteur. That is, it cannot do things, that is just a helpless little thing, poor me attitude. It has avoider saboteur that avoids the unpleasant or difficult things, chooses to do easy things that are not important, maybe chooses to delay things. So this is the avoider saboteur. There is pleaser saboteur, who does things that make other people happy and doesn't focus on herself. There are lots of others. There is restless, who just does too many things. There is stickler, who is pushing so much the rules, so everything should be according to the rules. There are lots of different saboteurs. But what you have to, for yourself, recognize is that anytime you feel these negative emotions, it's your old self or this the saboteurs that is coming up and taking over control. How do you change? How do you change is you separate yourself from the saboteur. First, you notice. When that happens, you say, oh, my saboteur is in action. It's not you, it's the saboteur. So you detach yourself from it. Then you have to pause, because you need to be in this moment to invite your higher self, your adult into game. This PQ says, positive intelligence says, they call it this adult self as sage, the wise self in you. And this sage is actually in you, but it just needs to be calm, mindful, and in the moment. What PQ program helps you with is that you notice your saboteurs in action and you bring yourself to this moment. You have mind control. And this bringing yourself in this moment is a practice that you develop. So PQ program comes with its own suggestions. It is actually a mindfulness practice. It can be also your meditation practice. What you need to do is that you need to give your full attention to your experience right now, to the sensations. So instead of thinking, so you switch off your relationship with your saboteur hijacked you. Let's say you are super angry. This means you are under attack of your saboteur. You pause, you say, oh, my, you can even name it in your way. Oh, my, let's say, in my case, I say, my bitch took charge, hijacked me. What I do is I bring myself to this moment. You can use, like, you can touch your fingers to each other. You can feel the sensations. You can breathe in, breathe out, feel the breath in your body. You can look at something in full detail. You can, if you are walking, you can just feel your feet touching the floor, or you can wiggle your toes or fingers. You do something, or you can smell something, you can taste something, can feel the wind on your skin. So what you do is you bring your attention to this moment in your human experience through your sensations. And when you stay in this moment, you can do it like 20 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes. So every time you notice the saboteur, bring yourself in this moment. Now you are in your adult. And now you can choose an action moving forward, or a new attitude moving forward. And you have won over your saboteur. So that's what happened to me when I was telling that I had to prepare for my training. And I see it as a big victory. The second stage of it, so this one, bringing your attention to this moment, is a great practice which you keep on doing and doing, because your saboteurs are so strong, they are coming from the past, or your attitudes are so strong. So you need the time to switch your attention back to this moment. And while doing it, you need to be kind to yourself. You cannot say, oh, my fucking saboteur is again there. I'm so stupid. I give all my power to this saboteur. No. Oh, my saboteur is in action. Oh, dear. And then you bring gently attention to this moment. And the other thing is seeing the new attitude towards it. So there are a couple of suggestions that PQ program offers. I'm not going to go deep into that, but what I noticed, what helps to me is this, first of all, this gentle attention to myself. And the second thing is like, what is the gift of this moment? Because I have, as I said, I lost an opportunity to be in the company. What was my gift? The gift for me was the lesson to do it differently next time. So everything that happens to me is a gift. So thinking about the gift and how I can turn this energy to something productive. It can be you innovate, you have new focus to do something with it. You can have an inspiration out of it. So there are a couple of more suggestions. That is a great journey of life. So if you see it from this perspective, if you see negative emotions as your old self reminding itself, and then you, if you stay in this moment, can develop a new attitude, that changes everything. So that's what I wanted to share with you this week. I'm going to give you a link to this PQ program, the Saboteurs. And this program is open now for coaches who want to be trained on it. I'm going to also leave you this link. If you are coaching in the coaching practice, you can use it. I highly recommend it also for your personal development. I don't like the word development, but your person going through life, it's very helpful. I want to leave you with this, and I'm going to share with you a text that I wrote for Big Coach Academy and my notes from 2 books that really helped me in transactional analysis, my highlights from these books. So maybe it will also create curiosity in you, or maybe it would help you. So that's the first thing that I wanted to share with you. The second thing is I interviewed Simon, one of my friends from a new community that I joined. It's called Writing in Community. I came up with this crazy idea of writing a book. Don't ask me how it's going. I don't know, and I want to stay in my adult state to move forward with it. I'm practicing every time with it. And I met him, and I liked a lot his story that he discovered his passion, dance, which he had no idea of. Just because he tried doing it, it became his passion. And I talked about him about developing his passion and how he mixes his passion with his work. I hope you will enjoy this. It's a bit shorter than my usual conversations with other people. I definitely love talking with him. I loved his attitude towards his own challenges in life. And maybe you would also find something inspiring for yourself. And I'm curious about you. How are you? What are you learning right now? And how can I support you? Just let me know. It's great that we are here together, and what gifts we are going to create for this world together. Take care, and I wish you all the best.